welcome back to my channel. So I wanted to show you Constance Ada again. She's dressed up all in her new sleep suit. So here she is. There's camera. Constance Ada. This is Constance Ada. On camera. Yes, she's in her little strawberry sleep suit. So I just wanted to carry on from where I left off last time. That's what I wanted to talk about in today's video. It was really it was in connection with the whole notion of autistics thinking in terms of black and white. And it's connected to what I was talking about in my previous video about the comment that was made in a therapy session about me being able to have a career, or that a career maybe is something that is possible for me in the future. And how I then had to explain that actually that wasn't an issue, that wasn't an option for me now or ever because of the nature of my disability. I sometimes feel people think that my problems can be resolved or that they're not lifelong, and that can be quite alienating because it feels like people don't understand the nature of my issues, the gravity of my problems, and how entrenched they are and how long-lasting they are. And how obviously I've had to come to terms with that and accept that, and it's not helpful really when people suggest otherwise. Now, apparently this is black and white thinking, I was told, that I need to see in shades of grey, but actually I beg to differ. What actually frustrates me sometimes is that if you're autistic, and every time you offer a strongly held opinion about something, you're told that you're thinking in black and white terms and that you need to see shades of grey. Which to me, personally, does sometimes feel a little bit patronising, even if a person isn't intending to be patronising, and even if they're trying to be helpful. To me, it can come across as patronising. Because, yes, if you're autistic, we do have a tendency sometimes to have very strongly held opinions on things, and we're not always very good at compromising and seeing other perspectives. That's true, but it doesn't therefore follow that every view we hold needs to be challenged, or that everything we think or feel needs to be challenged and encouraged to see things differently, because sometimes what we think about something actually is the truth for us. And I just sometimes feel that this, autistics think in black and white, autistics think in black and white, it's a black and white thing, you need to see shades of grey. It can come across as quite trite, as though the person is using cliches because they know you're autistic, so, you must be thinking in black and white. But what if actually they're the ones who are thinking in black and white about autism, which is ironic. But also, maybe the autistic person is actually expressing themselves, and we do have agency. We can sometimes know what's important for us. Not all the time, and obviously it depends what type of autism you have, and but most of us, at least those of us who are cognitively aware, we can form our own, how can I put this, it's probably going to come out wrong, I'm just trying to get my words in order and think this through properly, but what I want to say is that most autistics can think things through for themselves, and it doesn't always mean we're thinking in black and white terms. It doesn't always mean we need to be challenged. When I was trying to explain to her that I'm never going to have a career, I was simply being realistic. what's realistic is often described as black and white by people who like to put autistic people in a box and don't seem to understand that not everything an autistic person says that is categorical therefore needs to be challenged, and it doesn't always mean that's black and white. They confuse what is realistic, what is realism, what is feet firmly on the ground, and with a mature understanding of yourself and your own limitations and what is realistic, they confuse that as black and white. And sometimes by introducing possibilities that are actually unattainable for the autistic person, or attainable but at great expense. So sometimes the person might be able to push themselves, potentially, to do those things, but at what cost? And sometimes the person might be able to do that, but only if they had so much support that in this society, just at least now, is not forthcoming. Now, obviously, we're not saying it's absolutely impossible in the absolute sense, because very few things in life are absolutely impossible. I could climb Mount Everest. It's not absolutely impossible. Maybe one day I might think I could do that. It's very, 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 considering all my issues, it's extremely unlikely. It's extremely unlikely that I'll go bungee jumping. It's extremely unlikely that I'll want to jump out of an aeroplane as well. It's exceedingly unlikely, but as any good scientist will say, it's not impossible. Because obviously, very few things in life are impossible, and very few things in life are inevitable. But we can still safely say that certain things are exceedingly unlikely, and I can say that climbing Mount Everest is exceedingly unlikely. I can't say it's impossible, because, I'm a human being, and human beings can change. Even someone with extreme issues can potentially change. We have to allow the possibility for that. But it's so unlikely that it's not something I'm going to be wasting time and energy brooding about. And the same is for a career. It's so exceedingly unlikely, I'm not going to spend time brooding over it, but I can't say it's impossible. Who knows? Maybe one day I'll wake up miraculously and be cured of all my problems and be able to do a career. Who knows? I can't say that won't happen, but I can say it's exceedingly unlikely, and that's realism. And I was thinking in black and white terms, that is realism. And I do find it incredibly patronising when people try and tell me that my thinking pattern needs to be challenged, when actually sometimes my thinking pattern is accurate for myself. And I know myself. I'm not a child. Just because I'm disabled and autistic doesn't mean that I can't think in terms of shades of grey. I think this idea that autistics categorically cannot think in shades of grey is black and white on the part of non-autistics, which is ironic, because they don't seem to understand where the person's coming from. They don't look at the whole picture sometimes. Again, irony, because apparently autistics are the only one who have that problem, but, clearly not. I have seen the whole picture in this context, and I do know what's possible for me. It just annoys me, but let me know what you think. I don't need to see in shades of grey when it comes to knowledge of what's likely for me and what's even good for me, because I know myself. When I was a teenager and a young adult, I was very idealistic. I assumed, as many teenagers and young adults are, I assumed that everything potentially was possible for me, despite all my problems. I was kind of in cloud cookie land. And obviously, as I got older, I had to accept that actually, no, I am quite disabled, and, I have to kind of reassess what I'm capable of and what is achievable for me. And I'm not a defeatist. I'm simply a realist. There's a difference between being negative and being a realist. I sometimes think you're being negative when you say that certain things are impossible, when actually you're being a realist, because someone who's negative might also think those things, but for different reasons, and sometimes end up beating themselves up about it. And I don't know, it's not quite the same thing. Realism is just facing the facts, and it's not saying things are absolutely categorically impossible, but it's just accepting that certain things are very unlikely, and it's not worth one's effort or mental health to expend energy on things that are likely very, very unlikely for you. And we all have different strengths and weaknesses. And also, of course, having a career is not going to be all and end all. Just because someone doesn't have a career doesn't mean they're not successful in their own way. You could be creative, you can do things. You can live a fulfilling life within the constraints of what's possible for you. And that's really, really important. So yeah, do let me know what you think. Okay, moving on to video number 2 now. So a few other things we'll talk about. So move on to video number 2.